So welcome to the Extra Lucky podcast. We're here today with Sarrah Strimel-Bentley, who is a breast cancer survivor, a surrogate advocate. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Mom to Chance, who we are going to get to know a little bit more in a bit. Founder of Damn Good & Co. How many consonants?
I'm a slash.
And we really appreciate you being here today. So thank you so much for being on.
Seriously, so excited to have you. I'm really excited to speak with you guys because, I mean, as far as like mom experience goes, you have, I mean, it's just the most rich, incredible journey that you've both been on. So I've learned a lot from you today, and share my experience with both of you.
Thank you.
Well, we always like to start from the beginning. So where are you from? Where were you born? Tell us about your childhood. You don't have to go into great
I was like, how much time do we have?
I know.
What day of the week?
But I want to know everything. We want to know it all. And I think it will give us a beautiful, dynamic kind of review of who you are as a person, knowing where you came from and why you got into all the things that you got into in your story. So,
yes.
Tell us.
No. So I'm Sarrah Strimel-Bentley. I am 42 years old. Hopefully a young 42. I am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I've lived in New York City for 20-ish years.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I'm still here.
Did you come right after school?
So I didn't graduate college.
Okay.
So I was in Pittsburgh, started dancing and singing at a very young age. Knew I wanted to be on Broadway one day.
Okay.
Got into Cincinnati Conservatory of Music for musical.
Great school. I went to Elon for music theater.
Oh, you did? I think I knew you went to Elon.
Yeah, I didn't audition at Cincinnati because I didn't think I'd get in. It's so hard.
You know what?
So
You didn't miss much. No, it was fine. Yes, no, it was very competitive at the time. Like I auditioned for NYU and for Michigan, and probably I went to CCM, musical theater, which was amazing. And but I left my senior year.
Really?
Yes, with 3 credits left to graduate. I left in November because I booked the producers.
Oh, that's why you leave.
That's a reason.
Right. So I was like, because I was auditioning, I had my equity card.
Were you Ula?
But I was understudied.
I knew it. Right? The long legs, the dancing, the singing.
All the women in that show were like all like 6 feet tall. But so I was going to school for musical theater, and I had my equity card, which for you guys listening is like you're in the union, and getting in the union is kind of hard. But when I was 18, I performed professionally in Pittsburgh at Civic Opera, so I was able to audition during college. So I would like fly myself to New York. I'd say I was sick for classes, and I auditioned for the producers, and they took like 3 or 4 times, but they're like, "We love you, but you're young." Mm-hmm. And I was like way younger than everybody else. And when I was 21, I booked the producers, left school. And that was the beginning of my Broadway career.
And since then, you've done a number of shows, right?
Yes, 7 shows on Broadway.
Incredible.
Like The Producer, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, Catch Me If You Can, Rock of Ages, Big Fish, Young Frankenstein, and then my last show was An American in Paris.
Incredible. Yeah, and so you did Broadway most of your career at that time. And when did you meet your husband and transition out of that? Like, tell me more.
Yeah,
tell me more. Tell us more.
So like, I was in New York, single showgirl. I got married at 28.
Okay.
To a wonderful man who I dated my whole 20s. I didn't realize that I didn't want to be married to him when I got married to him, which was like a huge life lesson. I knew it. And my dad was like, I wish I would have known what you knew because I would have told you not to do it. We didn't even live in the same city, so it was a very like short-lived marriage. So I stayed in New York, and after that was performing, single. At 33, I realized I had kind of hit my ride on Broadway. Being on Broadway 8 shows a week.
Yeah. It's exhausting. Yeah.
It's exhausting, and like you don't have time to date.
You don't even have time to do anything.
Right.
I mean, my best friend, Mackenzie Bell, and her husband, Quinn Antwerp,
very well.
She's done many shows. Quinn just closed
Corn.
It's
amazing.
No. What is it? Chuck. Someone's got corn. Mice. Say corn in Spanish.
Actual corn.
It was such a good show,
I know.
But it's a lot. And they just have their baby, and he's doing 8 shows a week, and it's rehearsals in between. It is. I don't think a lot of people talk about how hard that career is.
It's wild, and so like
it feels like a really glamorous thing, which it is, but like it's
hard work.
It's very
when people like would come backstage, you know, and they were like, it's so glamorous, and then like a Broadway theater for you guys that are listening is like. You go through an alley with like all this trash, and there's like rats running, and then you like go down these stairs into like a basement where there's like black mold and then like shit everywhere. Oh, sorry, stuff everywhere.
It's okay, you can swear on this podcast.
But it's also magical. You know what I mean? It's like exactly how you think it's gonna be. But I got tired, and
it's just like a motherhood metaphor, right?
Yes. Actually, I didn't even realize that, and it kind of is.
It is magical, and it's also hard.
Yes. Yeah, it's hard. It's magical. It's a disaster, and it's also covered in sequins.
Covered in sequins. For some mothers.
I have 4 girls.
It's a disaster covered in sequins. No,
I love that. Maybe that'll be the title of our podcast episode.
But so I was like, I want to do something else, right? Like I'd already achieved my dream. I want to have like a part 2, whatever that is. And I started teaching yoga when I was performing, and I noticed I really, really loved that almost more than what I was doing. So I started teaching while I was in American in Paris, and I slowly phased out of Broadway. I left American in Paris before it closed. Started my own yoga company.
I didn't know that. That's so cool.
Called V Yoga. Oh. We opened up in the Hamptons.
Oh, I think I might have been to one of them.
Maybe it was like in Montauk. There's a couple, but we were.
But my sister's bachelorette party was in Montauk, so that's why.
Probably
I
dead.
I
like
sounded
curly
very
hair.
familiar. I don't know if I took your class, but I think I went to that too.
I hope you had a good experience.
Of course.
But like I have a tendency to just like do things and just go with my gut. So like I didn't know how to open up a business. I like had to Google like how does one make an LLC? So like Googled how to make an LLC. Made an LLC, started a company, ran that. That was we started B Yoga in 2016.
Okay.
Or late 2015. And I was like dating in New York City on like the apps. I was single in Montauk, which is dangerous.
Yeah,
but very fun. The studio was a smashing success. Yeah, and I had like I always wanted to like have this. I'm a beach person. I surf. I'm like a fish in the water. Like, so I never got to do that on Broadway because you don't have time, right? So I had created this life where I was like in the city teaching yoga here in New York privately and classes. Ran my studio in the Hamptons. Had a staff. Dating, which was a wonderful experience in New York City. But through that time, that was like a good 7-year chunk I was single in New York. I bought a sailboat. This is my boat.
I thought that was like a
No, it's my boat. No, that's a photo of my boat.
We gotta take a picture of that for the show.
Yeah, it's old. I know, to show it. So I couldn't afford a place to live in the Hamptons because I was a yoga teacher who opened a business and put all our money in there. So I bought this sailboat to live on. I did that for a year. That was wild. So I had all these wild experiences that led me to wiping right on a guy named James Bentley, who is like this magical tall ginger, my husband. Do you consider yourself a ginger?
Not really.
Maybe like
I'm predominantly Irish, but I just don't have I don't have the hair.
My dad did. She can pull it off.
You can. My dad has the red hair, which is now gray, but sorry, Dad.
I know, they go white. Like my husband's hair, if you guys are listening, is like fire engine red.
Well, the thing about redheads is they're like the latest to go gray.
Yes.
That red holds on for a very long time.
Yes. I know, that's
starting.
Moments here. So met him right before the pandemic.
And you were in the city swiping.
I was in the city.
And were you doing it on the weekend? So you were living on your boat, but you were still in the city too?
No, there was like a year after.
Okay,
so this whole period, I ran the yoga studio, taught in the city, had private clients in the city. I was living in the city and in the Hamptons.
Okay.
So like one summer, I was living in someone's garage that was infested with squirrels. That was fun.
Oh my gosh.
The second summer was the boat. Mm-hmm. The third summer, finally, I was like, you know what? You're like 38, or 37. Rent and you can do this. And we were more successful at the time, So I would always go back and forth. Mm-hmm. And so when I swiped right on my husband, it was like November, I'll never forget, it was Thanksgiving. I was in Florida where my parents were living, on the beach with my mom and her friends, on the apps. And so I matched with him and we started talking. I just got my dog Glory. She was like a puppy.
She's here.
Yeah, she's here. She's super cute, you guys.
She might come into frame, maybe.
She's like a little white Boston Terrier. She's magical and crazy. Just got the dog. And at this point I was like, I'm never going to find the guy. Right? And I wanted to have babies. I wanted to be married. And that was so clear to me. It just wasn't clear to all the guys I picked to date in New York. Until James. Yeah, and so I matched with him. We went on like 5 magical dates, the 5th being a trip to San Francisco.
Oh my gosh.
That we like picked out of a hat at like 1 a.m. drinking pink champagne out of teacups. And
when all good decisions are made.
You're like an already movie, and
no,
then
it's
this layer.
Yeah,
the longest into
podcast ever.
I love it.
And so 5th date, I was like, this guy I'm gonna marry. And then we kind of dated. And then February 2020, we like both had bad coughs somewhere in Miami, and we were like, why are we so sick? And then we realized there was something happening in New York, COVID, and we had to pick where we were going to quarantine. And we went down to quarantine with my parents in Florida. So I showed up in Florida with this dog and this random redhead my parents had never met.
No,
I didn't really date. Heard about him.
Yeah,
I never met him. And so at that point we were dating for 3 months. December, January, February. And so I landed in Florida, which my husband packed for a week. We had a boyfriend at the time.
Yeah.
We ended up staying 3 months.
Yeah.
And
I would imagine that really sort of like made your relationship grow even faster.
Totally. And we ran into like a huge snafu as a couple, and I talk about it there, and it was a turning point, and like we worked through it. You like did something dumb.
Yeah.
I do. And it was like the best thing that could have happened, because we like every skeleton came out. We like were in it together, and lo and behold, we like bought a house sight unseen in the Hamptons. It was a crazy decision. Moved into that house the summer of 2020. And thank God we went through all we went through already, because I would later, 3 weeks after we moved into the house, I found my breast cancer lump. And then
can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. That's sort of like probably the beginning of this journey we're really going to talk about today. It was like walking down, we live across the street from the beach in East Hampton, and we were walking down the path with the dog at sunset. We walked down every night, and I had an itch like underneath my left armpit, and underneath my fingers was like a lump the size of a walnut. I was like, what the, like, James, feel this. And he's like, it's not been there. I'm like, how did this just like come out of the blue? So I was like, all right, we need to, it's COVID, you can't go to the doctor.
Yeah,
it's still kind of like deep COVID, right? Yeah. It's August 2020. So I called my gyno, got a virtual appointment, and she's like, you're fine. You're 38, you have no family history, you're healthy, but let's get an ultrasound, just to make sure. Someone will call you from Mount Sinai. So someone calls me and is like, we can give you an ultrasound December 6th.
This is August.
Oh my God. Yeah. And I was like,
okay.
No. And they're like, well, you're not high risk. Like, it's not a big deal. It's not important. We have
medical
time.
advocacy begins.
We have time. Yeah, you guys know a little something about that. And I was not good enough. And so I just started asking friends. And I have a client who is very influential in New York City. And I just mentioned to her, I'm having trouble getting a test because she's a cancer survivor. And she picked up the phone, got me on. She was in Southampton. She goes, get in the car. So what do you mean? She goes, you're meeting the doctor in the office right now. And I was like, what? So I wasn't with James. James and the dog were at the house. I drove straight to the office, got put on a table. And in the ultrasound, the doctor knew exactly what it was, but couldn't tell me. Private practice, they're amazing. And I had to wait that weekend. I went home that night, drank 2 bottles of wine because I was losing I was like, I know. Yeah. I read people, and I was like, this is not good.
Very into it.
Yeah. Yes. I was like, this is not good. I was terrified. They threw me in a mammogram. They ultrasounded my whole torso. And then When Saturday, Sunday.
By the way, do you hear the cooing?
Yes, I know.
Quentin used to do that.
It's so gross. Let me know if you want to take him. My son, for those of you that are listening.
He's coming in whenever.
Son is coming to visit.
Yeah,
you let me know. I would put him on my lap. And that weekend, I tried to just go about normal life. I was at the beach with like my biopsy, hanging out my bikini.
Oh, so they biopsied as well.
No, the ultrasound was Friday. Sorry,
Okay.
I went to the beach. That wasn't the biopsy. And then Monday they did the biopsy.
Was that painful?
They stuck me like 20 times in my armpit because they saw big needles. They go, they numb it. But it's just, but before she did the biopsies, I'm on the table. And James is holding my hand over my head. And she goes, I need to prepare you with what I'm going to call you and tell you tomorrow. And I looked at her and I said, I have cancer. And then she said, yeah, I'm sorry. So it was like, and then she proceeded to do 20 biopsies after she had already said, I know what this is. Yeah. She said, I've seen this a million times. And so went through that experience. And, and then like after that happened, I walked out and obviously it was, I can't even describe.
How is your husband handling all this?
Oh my God, James, he's my boyfriend.
He was your boyfriend at the time.
James is like the opposite of me. He is calm and cool and collected and just like so he just held me up. Walking out of that office, I like couldn't even walk. Yeah. And he just held me up. And on the way out, they asked for my credit card to pay out of pocket.
Yeah.
Right after I had been diagnosed with cancer,
right?
Which I thought was taxable.
Yeah.
And
they invoiced me like a week later.
Thank you. I would have rather just gotten hit with that later.
Yeah.
But then that made me think about how many women could afford that at the time. And I just, but yeah, James was a pillar, and that was August 30th, the biopsy, and the 31st, and September 1st, I got diagnosed officially. They called the next day. And
what was your diagnosis?
Stage 2, invasive ductal carcinoma with lymph node involvement, meaning the cancer was invasive and spread into my lymph nodes.
Was it in both breasts or just
only my left breast?
Okay.
It was a 5-centimeter tumor. And so that week I got diagnosed was like, it's like crazy. You see so many doctors, so many appointments. We were in an IVF office.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no. So Tuesday, they called, you have cancer. Wednesday was off to the races. I had an appointment with my surgeon, who's incredible, Dr. Lisa Port. Then she's like, handed me a binder. She's like, here's where you're going this week. And then Wednesday was like, PET scan, MRI. And then the next day was like an MRI biopsy because the MRI saw something in my right breast. The next day, Thursday, was, you're going to IVF, the fertility clinic. And I said, why? And she says, because your fertility is going to be affected by this treatment. What? I have cancer and now I can't have a baby?
Yeah.
So this whole week, so we're in the IVF office, which this story is super pertinent. James, boyfriend of like, now like what, 6 months? Hot second. In love, bought a house together.
Yeah,
but still,
what do you know?
Yeah.
It's like forcing a lot of conversations.
We're sitting there and I'm still like white noise all week because it's like, how do you process all this? You just don't. Yeah. You just keep going. And the doctor said, you can freeze your eggs, or the two of you can make embryos because it's a better chance that you're going to have a baby, a live birth, if you freeze your embryos. And I was like, okay. And I was like, and so he goes, what do you want to do? And I looked at James.
You're like,
and I was like, in that moment, I was like, please, God.
I'm laughing, but like, it's like such a like awkward conversation.
Because it's like, please don't be that New York guy where like you just found out your girlfriend has breast cancer.
Right.
And now
you walk out.
Right.
Yeah. Or you just like ghost or whatever.
Right.
And he looked at me without hesitation. He goes, embryos. And then I started sobbing.
Yeah.
I was just like, I was going to cry this whole podcast.
Oh my God.
Wow. And so and everything, double mastectomy a week later.
A week later?
September 15th. So a week later
That's
after
incredible.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's
This is
surgery.
very, very
happened so quickly.
Okay.
September 15th, double mastectomy. Still had my drains in.
And was he able to like be with you during all of this?
No.
Because it was COVID, right? Okay.
No,
Right.
no, like my parents came in to sneak my parents into the hospital.
Yeah.
My dad pretended he had a surgery that day.
I love your
Yeah.
dad.
No, my dad was like, I have a procedure. Like the security was like, really? And my mom was like, yes, I'm his guest. And then they looked at my mom, and I looked like my mom and me.
They're
They were just like, and I looked at the security guard and I started crying, and the security guard was like, okay.
Not to derail, but like,
No, please do.
the things we all do, right? Like my mom was like in her last few days of life, and they were only letting one person up at a time for 24 hours.
You lost her during COVID?
It was 2021 spring, so it was like still all
So
rules, right? So my sister and I, like, we were like, we're dealing with this, and the nurse was like trying to like be our, was trying to help us. So my sister and I went together, like at the guest check-in. I'm gonna get in trouble for telling this story. But
I mean, I just like,
she
broke
checked
every
in
rule
with
of
like her
Mount Sinai.
jacket.
Mount Sinai.
Thank you, Mount
This
Sinai.
is not sponsored by Mount Sinai.
We basically like switched clothes so that we were wearing the same thing, going back in with like the same guest pass. And the nurse knew it was two different people, but she was like, by the way,
Because you're losing your
do this. And yeah, so like we were able to both see her on the same day. But otherwise it was like once one person checked in, someone else couldn't come in for 24 hours. So it was, so we had like a jacket. Yeah, like we had like the pony, we had to like make sure the hair was the same so that what the security guard when he was looking at like the printed pass, like
Meanwhile, you're
so
losing your mom.
Yeah. So the things that like during COVID you had to, so that's why I asked that, like was he able to like be there, and so I'm,
I mean, they were able to one at a time come into the room when I was healing. But like I did chemo alone. Like chemotherapy, like he busted in one day, which is like a long story. Again, I won't tell that one.
That'll be on the next podcast.
Next podcast.
She comes back.
Something went wrong, and he was like,
Yeah.
But yeah, so I, started 2 rounds of back-to-back IVF with the drains in right after surgery. Like, and James is giving me shots in my belly. We're emptying drains. I'm healing. Like, it was we started immediately. There was no time. So,
can I ask you how you were physically feeling? Like, were you just so drained? Were you exhausted? Because chemo, I know, is just so invasive physically. And then you've got a double mastectomy, and then you're doing IVF, which is bloating and hormonal. Like, how are you doing?
I mean, mastectomy first, IVF, then chemo, right? So, like, I don't know how, girl, I don't know.
I know.
I'm
You just
do it.
You get on like autopilot.
Yeah.
Put the blinders on because it's so heavy that if you stop for a moment to process what's going on, it's like a shark. Sharks can't stop swimming.
Because that's what you do, right?
Yeah.
It's like when people say, I don't know how she does it. It's like, well, you would.
Yeah.
You would do it if it's your child, if it's your life. Yeah. Like you do it.
You do it. And you do it. And if you are present enough, you are doing it and still seeing the joy in your life and the magic. Because it's there. Like when and that's a skill that I'll get into it later. But yeah, so I did the IVF. We got 1 normal embryo. One.
One people.
Hello, son. Oh, I buried the lead on this podcast. Shit.
Oh, cut that.
I know.
Spoiler alert. It worked.
I got one, like, as I'm looking at my miracle child. So I got 1 embryo. We went that's when we went into chemo.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, they had amputated my breasts. It wasn't even like, I'm like, I don't know how I felt. 8 rounds of chemo, did it alone, COVID, right into 28 rounds of radiation.
What is the difference between, for those listening, between chemotherapy and radiation?
Yeah, so chemotherapy is they inject poison into your body, which makes you really, really sick, which is the poison that makes you lose your hair because it attacks the fastest growing cells.
Okay,
so
which
chemo,
is the cancer.
Right. And
it also kills the good cells too.
Right. So the fast growing cells in your body is your hair cells. Oh. Yeah, they grow the quickest, right?
Yeah, which makes
sense. Yeah. Which is why it kills that. That's why you lose your hair. That's also killing the cancer and good cells. It's just lighting the fire.
Yeah.
So that was through an IV. Some people have ports, but I had good veins. And radiation is like a machine that obviously has. I mean, I'm not a scientist or a doctor, but like radioactive beams on your. It basically, again, is another way to get rid of any. The best way my surgeon said it, who's she's a doctor, of course, incredible. She said, think of radiation and chemotherapy. Like, do you guys know when you're at the beach and you have sand in like your shoes, and you try to get all the sand out and you get it, but then there's always like 2 grains of sand somewhere, or like in your hair. The surgery gets all the sand out, but chemotherapy and radiation clean up the teeny little grains that are left, because those can then bring the cancer back. It takes 1 grain of sand. And because it was in my lymph nodes, it could have traveled to become stage 4 cancer, which means it metastasizes to other sites in your body. Thank God I had a PET scan that said that didn't happen. Happens to a lot of young women. They're diagnosed with stage 4 right away.
My son's passed this year, or last year.
So sorry. I'm stage 4.
She's our angel.
Stage 4 needs more. We're working on it. But yeah, so the chemotherapy, radiation, and then 2 more surgeries on my breasts. I got my ovaries out because I have a genetic mutation. Not BRCA.
Did you know that before this?
No. That was another thing. That was in that same week where I found out all of it.
Like the best week of your life.
Yeah.
Wow.
They called. They were like, "Oh, so you have a screwed up gene." Out of 77 genes, you have 76 normal genes. And I was like, "Oh, that was a nice way of presenting it."
Oh, well, we got an extra chromosome in our family, so all in good fun.
Company. Homies with extra chromosomes.
Yes.
So that's sort of like the cancer journey. And the whole time I just was like, let's get through this and let's figure out how to have this baby. And I still thought there was hope that I could do another round of IVF after treatment, because they said your fertility could come back. And I still thought maybe I could carry my 1 embryo. And I found out that my oncologist would not support me carrying, because I am on drugs for the next 10 years to keep my cancer from coming back.
By the way, I don't want to interrupt you, but I love how you are sharing a side of this cancer journey on your channels that many people don't. Because I think what you're really beautiful at is finding the joy, like we talked about, and staying joyful, but also, we like to call it the AND concept at ELM, and also sharing the vulnerable truths. And that this cancer doesn't just magically go away. Like, you're dealing with menopause, you're dealing with medications, and you're sharing that, but you're also always finding your joy. And I think you're giving so many people so much hope, even if they may not make it through their journey of this, horrible disease. They will maybe find their joy being inspired by how you're doing that. And we love following you. We're so happy you're here. But sorry, you can continue.
I have talked about that a lot in my own life, because there was like a period of years that we went through like so much, and I call it like looking for the silver linings, like where like you're sitting, my mom had a lot of health problems until she ultimately passed away, and it would, sometimes we'd be sitting all night in a hospital room, and like some random stranger would hand me a latte, like, I, thought you might need this, like out of nowhere. And you're like, those are the things I remember. I don't remember like, sitting there and stressing and all of that. I mean, I can remember. But like, you have to look for those little things, the people who are kind to you, the person who gets you coffee, the doctor who, leaves you with some little word of wisdom. Like, you have, in those times, you have to look for those things, because otherwise, like, you'll just drown, like, it's just unsustainable.
You have to give her your book.
Yeah.
She wrote a book called Ups, Downs, and Silver Linings.
Oh my God, yes, I must have the book. I must have the book.
It's so a you book too.
Yes.
Can I speak for you? Sorry. I'm personal PR. I'm always shouting you out. No, I read it in one day, and she talks about her life and all of the hardest pieces of your life, and then at the end of each chapter, the silver lining of it.
I love that.
It's such a beautiful way to look at life, and it really inspired me to continue throughout this whole journey of extra lucky parenting and caregiving and connection. I have been finding my joy always, and being even more inspired to do so. But your book really got me there.
Oh my God, that's incredible. Because I'm trying to write my book, and I'm like, I need all the inspiration. Yes, I need that. I can't wait.
Yes, do it. Incredible. It's like, so people are like, how did you find time to write a book? I'm like, I could have gone to hours and hours and hours of therapy, or I could have gotten it all out, and it became a book. Like, I didn't know where it was going, but I was just writing.
Yeah.
So do it. Right.
Oh my God. Yell at me, like, text me. Are you ready? Like, Sarah, what are you doing? Are you on TikTok? Get off TikTok. Get off Jess's page.
Get off Jess's TikTok. Do you know I'm writing my book right now? But what I do is I voice note to text.
That's Exactly. That's
Yes.
I've looked at programs to do that.
I just put.
You know, we love a voice memo. We
And
already
I
said
love a
this.
voice memo, and that's how I write. I write my like narrative in my head.
Yeah.
So typing it just like holds me back with the pace.
Yeah.
So I just
100%.
push the record like voice to text, and sometimes it doesn't make sense, but I know what I said. So
Yeah.
I've written a chapter in like 15 minutes.
And then you go back and you edit.
And
And you add zhuzh to it.
Yeah, I bet you would.
And like
This is what,
pronunciation.
I knew this is what I need to do.
Yeah.
We were all meant
Yeah.
to sit here today for many
Oh,
reasons.
the
and
universe
this
is
definitely
working
one of them.
always.
Yes.
I need to get off my ass and make this book happen. Yes.
Well,
Yes.
So anyway, I did not have any fertility left.
Okay.
Chemo ripped through my body. At that point, I was like 40 when we looked. That was the hardest part of the whole journey. Not losing my hair, not losing my breasts. It was that I knew at that point there was no other avenue for us to have our own baby except this little frozen guy who was fair quality.
Yeah.
Said my IVF doctor, thank you so much. He was honest. If he was at that, I mean, as an embryo, he was fair quality. And that, I hit the floor so hard when I found out that ultrasound was black.
Yeah.
And I knew, and I was like, and then I knew I needed to use a surrogate to bring our fair quality embryo to life. And
it must just feel like, I mean, after going, you can kind of say, I'm going to go through all this, because I'm going to get out on the other side of it, right? And then to have something else like taken from you is, I can imagine how painful that is.
It was 4 years now. I look back and I'll get into it once we tell the rest of the story, but of like hanging on for dear life.
Yeah.
And just being like, what else are you going to do? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how much left I have for you to take, world. But life,
universe, throw me a bone, please.
Someone. But yeah, so that was the cancer journey. And then our guy was frozen in Midtown at RMA for a long time. And then we went down our surrogacy route.
So did you guys because you got married in between this, no?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Sorry,
so,
James.
So, like, how did you propose? Like, what?
I have the details. Very good story.
Okay.
It was our first anniversary. So December 6, 2020, I was dead.
And you had lived 1,000 lifetimes together. By
Yeah.
your first anniversary.
I mean, like global pandemic, cancer, home ownership,
Living with your parents.
scandal, relationship scandal, living with my parents. What else? Oh, Jesus. Embryos. So I remember and so I was like, I was bald. It was like, after my second round of chemo, he'd shaved my head for me, which was like one of the most epically tender, insane moments of my life. That moment. He couldn't get a reservation where he got a reservation to celebrate December 6th, which was December 9th. And so he said, get ready, get dressed up. And so I put on like this great Reformation dress, and then I put a turban on, and big old hoop earrings.
You looked fabulous.
I actually did. I got really good at wrapping turbans. So it was like a huge, very dramatic, big knot, like pink turban. And he had a bottle of Veuve. Dom. It was like old Dom.
Oh, he was going big.
No, he went big.
Yeah.
I'm like, and they got these like new crystal glasses. Like we didn't have glasses at the time. We had obviously moved in together in New York City too, not just the Hamptons. We were living in New York together, so we were in both places. And I was like, ooh, champagne. And then he like pulled out a blindfold like from the sex store. You know those like blindfolds that are like that you see in the sex shop, which are like red lace, and it's like a burlesque. And did
he get it from the sex store?
On 7th Avenue.
Shut up, that's hysterical.
And I was like, oh,
Where to find a blindfold?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So turban, blindfold, glass of champagne, and then he leads me blindfolded down to a black car where I put a mask on because it's COVID.
Yeah. I can't breathe or see.
Can't see. I'm covered. It looked like a mummy with like a sex store blindfold, and so I'm like in a car for like.
You're here for it. You're like, let's go. Yeah, we're gonna rob a bank, or we're gonna have sex this week.
Yeah. No, I don't know. And I'm like, I just had like chemo a couple days before, and I'm like hammered on champagne. And we're in a car, so it's like, this is hilarious. And so we end up at 45 minutes later, I get out of the car, I'm still blindfolded. He leads me through and I'm like, it's cold, it's December. And I'm like, where are we? And then he takes the blindfold off, and I'm in this barn that's covered in candles and like dried flowers. So he took me to Blue Hill Stone Barn. Do you know that? So
we lived there to get married.
oh my God, it's so
Stunning.
beautiful and so expensive.
That's what we did. We got the email and they're like, here's a price. We're like, close that now.
Visit on our anniversary.
Yeah, we'll get exactly. Let's just do the dinner.
Yeah.
That's a price.
No, I know. So he got them to give us a private barn because again it was COVID and I was immunocompromised.
Oh, that's so lovely that they did that.
Yeah. And
Shout out.
Shout out. Snow barn. Back. So and he took the blindfold off and he was like, happy anniversary, and we started to have dinner. And it was gorgeous. And
were you anticipating? Were you expecting it, kind of?
I don't know, kind of. A little maybe. But I wasn't tipped off.
Okay.
But I just,
And you looked at rings?
No, girl. No. And
because your ring is stunning.
Well, I'll tell you. I mean, so the inside joke was that my free pass. Do you guys have free passes with your husband?
Like the list.
Oh, the list who you would,
Well, not really, but yeah. So mine was the
the babies.
Mine was the Cuomo brothers.
What?
So Mario and Andrew.
He was a wonderful mayor. I miss him very much.
I mean, he did some fucked up shit. Though,
yeah, it's true. At the end there,
all the bombs.
pretty good throw.
So he was like, "I'm going to get your anniversary present." Spoiler alert: it's the Cuomo brothers.
Yeah.
And then he disappears. And so we're on the second course of the meal at Blue Hill. And he comes back and he sits me in a chair, like a big chair. He's like, stay here, I'm going to go get them. And he comes back.
Did you think he was going to bring them?
No, I didn't know what the hell was happening.
Like, I am just
put it past him.
Yeah, he seems pretty.
Yeah, and so then he comes in and immediately gets down on one knee and pulls this ring out of his jacket, like without a box, just like it's Anna Sheffield. It's
so beautiful.
And then he asked me to marry him, and I looked at him, and of course I was like, and then I've just cracked a joke, and I was like, did you ever think you were going to ask a bald woman to marry you when you were a little kid? Was this your dream?
Yeah.
And he was like, baby, and I said, yes, of course I'll marry you. And so it was like, and then we celebrated and spun, and it just was like in the midst of all of this horror show.
Yeah.
I mean, I was the happiest I've ever been.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. All of these moments can exist in the same breath.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a really beautiful thing to remember. And yeah, he picked this out himself.
Good for you.
And it's like exactly what I would have designed, meaning I'm like, oh, my husband,
he knows you.
knows me like inside and out. So yes, we did get engaged during chemo. We eloped September 24th of 2021. Okay. After we got engaged December of 2020. So we left in San Francisco where we had our 5th date on the same balcony in the same hotel suite that we stayed in.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, it was magical. And so yeah, we kind of it was the greatest love story during the...
It's one of my favorites.
Oh,
I love your love story.
Yeah, me too.
I also have a finance husband, so I see it, and I'm a performer, so I feel like you and I might even talk about
I know we have a lot of conversations.
Love you, honey.
Love you. Okay, guys.
Okay, so you're married, and then when does the surrogacy discussion start?
Right, so it started
when you did the IVF or the
Well, so I mean, because we did IVF chemo, and it started like the winter after I finished chemo. My oncologist was like, "Okay, we're going to see if you have fertility left, but you have one embryo." Mm-hmm. Now, listen, a lot of cancer survivors carry their own embryos after.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Yeah, a lot of them get pregnant naturally after. Mm-hmm. A lot of them don't, and it's dependent on your age. When I finished treatment, I was turning 40. So I was 38 when I got diagnosed. I turned 39 right after I got diagnosed. And then I turned 40 right after we got married. So somewhere in there, she's like, your age, I want you to be on this medication for 5 years, and then I'll give you a break if you would want to try to carry an embryo. Okay. But here's the deal, Sarah. You're going to be 44, 45. Yeah. You have one embryo. You've never been pregnant.
Right.
Your body has been through the ringer. This is not a great...
odds are not in your favor.
And I really don't want you to take a break, but if this is your dream of your life, she goes, I would suggest you need to get a surrogate. And so I was like, you know what? I do have one miracle. There's nothing left. I knew that at the time we had the conversation. So we started looking for agencies to find a surrogate. At the same time, I was starting a nonprofit for surrogacy with other breast cancer survivors who were my friends. Yeah. So, and that process is gnarly. Yeah. It's a wild process, finding the right agency and then the right surrogate. So we interviewed agencies, which some of them are like used car dealers.
Right.
One was like, this is so terrible. One was like one that people highly recommended. The owner of the agency got on and she's like, so here's the price. It's like $50,000 if you want to sign with us. And then you get, and the wait list for a surrogate is like 16 months because it's COVID. Never explained why that. But if you give us an extra $60,000, you can be the VIP, which means you get a match within 3 months. So I was like, okay, $60K takes COVID away.
Yeah.
3 months you'll get match. You'll get our best surrogate, and you only have one embryo. And I was like, wait.
I mean, how many emotions can you play with in one conversation?
Only have one embryo, so And I'm like, what do I get, the bargain basement surrogate if I pay you $50K? Like, well, this is insane.
Yeah.
And that's just the agency fee. That's not the surrogacy fee. No. What? Just to have them do the agency thing.
This is so priced out. Oh my gosh.
Extra $60,000. So anyway, I started crying at one point because she said I only had one embryo about 6 times.
Yeah. You're like, we got it.
I was like,
That's why I'm here.
This is not. But we ended up finding
it's like when you get a prenatal diagnosis of Down syndrome and it'll remind you how many times you have.
You sure you want to get? You sure want to get this?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of.
I have so much. Oh my god. You're like,
I'm good. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Appreciate you. Loud for the people in the back. So yeah, we found a great agency, one of the oldest surrogacy agencies in the country, out of Boston. Got matched with the surrogate. She ghosted us after working with her for 6 months. That was like another heartbreak. She like, put all your eggs, literally, my one egg,
put all your one egg. Yeah.
Thank God it wasn't in her basket yet.
Yeah.
That was a terrible analogy.
I followed it.
I mean, I made sense, and I teed myself up. And then we matched. We were looking for. So my fertility doctor, because we only had one embryo, was looking for a unicorn. Yeah, to carry our baby. So many stipulations. Very, very hard to find a woman who fit all of them. I won't go into what it was, but our agency was like, "You're asking. This could take years." Mm-hmm. And I'm like, "No, I've gone through enough. I want. I just need to know if this is going to work or not, because my nervous system, wondering if this one embryo is going to
my mental health.
No,
right.
So he said, I think I have someone that's perfect for you. Unfortunately, she's matched with another couple. I was like, well, that's
great.
Why
would you even say it?
Like, that's me. I have this great guy. He's married. But
he's awesome though. We'll see what you know about him.
Anyway, falls through.
Right, that's what it is.
Right.
Because he was like, the match doesn't seem super solid.
Oh.
They had done the transfer for a year at a couple in London, but she's perfect for you.
Okay.
Well, lo and behold, we got ghosted. She got ghosted by her parents, and it's Whitney, and it was our surrogate, and we
I love watching your relationship.
Oh my god, she's an angel. She's
like a part of your family now.
She's Aunt Whitney.
Yeah.
And so we matched with her.
She is local or no?
In Richmond.
Okay.
So actually, surrogacy just got legalized in New York State. It'll be 3 years in a month.
I didn't know that either. You would think we would have been one of the first.
No. Actually, the lawyer that works with my foundation wrote it into law, so she's kind of a badass. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, she's great. Her name's Alexis Sorrell. Hey, Alexis. But yeah, so we matched with Whitney. Okay. She's in Richmond, Virginia. We flew to Richmond to meet her, and we were officially paired. And that was in November of 2022. Okay. We did the transfer April 21st, the day after Easter, on 2023. And now, guys, I'm looking at my son.
Bring him in. Oh,
Sarah, you're so excited.
Hi.
If you're only listening to this on a podcast platform, go to YouTube because you will be able to see this baby.
It is so delicious. This is an actual miracle.
You know what, Bubba? I mean, guys, all of these little souls that we have, you guys well know, they're miracles, and they come down in their own way and their own form. And
a baby with Down syndrome actually only has a 20% chance of making it past gestation. which is
I
did not know that until after my baby was here. Otherwise, I would have been like freaking out the whole time.
So he had a 20% chance. That's what they gave us
Yeah,
in December.
so-
It was a 20% chance of. And did you? So like the one thing that I will say, because it's terror. Once we found out she was pregnant, they genetically tested him, but having that, knowing that was something that made it slightly easier to know. Like, but you're still terrified the entire pregnancy. Like, I can't imagine getting a diagnosis that because you got yours also.
No, mine was
at birth. That's I knew that actually.
Yeah.
You had yours.
Which has been nice.
And
because
she got
both experiences.
So we knew that she had Down syndrome like very early on, and then like 4 weeks later, when I was 16 weeks pregnant, we found out she had a complete hole in her heart. So we knew she would need open heart surgery, which added to the complexity of potential miscarriage and all of that. So yeah, it was a stressful.
I can't even.
You're just sort of holding your breath at every appointment, like please let the heart still look good and all of that. So yeah.
And I think motherhood is holding your breath for the rest of time.
I mean, yes.
But in watching your heart walk outside your body.
Yeah, that's
and like I've talked about it so much, like having 4 kids, only one of them has like, an extra chromosome. Only one of them has like a defined disability, but they all have things.
Yeah.
We all have
things.
And we all have things.
do.
Right. Like
I have ADHD and an anxiety disorder.
Oh God, I have cancer.
The way he's watching you talk, his eyes are like,
My
he
mom.
just loves his mama.
Are you like, Mama, you're so loud?
Okay, so your miracle baby is here.
Yeah.
You are now
This is your dog.
Okay, this
like,
is your
I'm
dog
here
too.
too.
Lori's here. She's getting jealous of baby attention.
I love
You're so
you.
beautiful.
And I'm also, hold on, we'll take a pause. I'm also on a hot flash. So Mom is going to take, you good. Okay. Well, I get hot flashes because of menopause. It's another.
Yes, which I now know because you share on your platform. And I think that's so interesting that we're learning. The more we know, the more we can become more dynamic humans and empathize more with others. And so I love that you're sharing it so openly. So, okay, so
I want to hear about the foundation.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Please.
Yeah. So I have friends who I've been friends with for a long time, pre-cancer, and we all got breast cancer.
No way.
Yeah, my friend Victoria, she got it first. So Victoria got it first. She like disappeared. I saw her in Miami at Soho House, of course, as one does. And I said, "Where have you been?" And she's like, "Oh, I had cancer." And I was like, "Spit out my margarita." Went to James. It was James and I just started dating, and I went and I goes, "Oh my God, I just saw my friend Victoria. She's going to come hang out with us." She had cancer. I get cancer 6 months later. I probably had it at the time.
Yeah.
And then our friend Annie also got it right after me. So we all were like, what can we do to give back? Because
Which first of all, can we just say that that's such a beautiful thing? Not everybody does that.
Yeah.
And not that I want to be like, we did that too, but because we felt extra lucky to have support from each other, we decided that we wanted to pay that forward because of what we had been able to give to each other during these difficult times. And you guys did the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's so beautiful because what you guys are just continuing to do through your foundation is literally giving another chance to somebody else. Sorry. How many times are we going to cry on this?
if I had any estrogen left in my body, there would be a lot of estrogen in this room. Yeah. So we were like, we want to do, because immediately, you're like, we are lucky that we're lucky enough to have the best treatment, to have each other. We're lucky enough to have seen the silver linings and the and-ends and all that you guys know so well. And what can we do? Because the whole time I was in treatment, I was thinking about the women that didn't have that.
Yes.
And or the women that weren't as lucky that found their, so it's like, and we wanted to do something that hadn't been done yet.
Yeah.
And we were all under 40, and we were, Victoria was already in the surrogacy journey, and I knew that would be mine, and so he's back to sleep. And there was no help financially for surrogacy at the time. An official, charity that really was a nonprofit that was funding surrogacy journeys. Like, they were like mini scholarships.
Right.
Like, if you're getting, so an average surrogacy journey costs $150,000.
Yeah. Who can afford
Upwards.
that? It's insane.
It rocks a family.
Yeah.
And so I was like, holy shit! Like, there's help for fertility preservation. New York State pays for fertility preservation for cancer patients.
Oh, that's good.
That's in law now.
Oh.
Chick Mission, my friends, fought to have that happen. There's amazing nonprofits I worked with during my treatment. 5 Under 40 helps women get services under 40 when they're in breast cancer treatment. Pink Aid sends, there's incredible breast cancer. There's BCRF does research. What do we not have that's personal to us? Surrogacy.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it was the same way I started my business. I Googled how to start a nonprofit. And I was like, and we did it. And so we gave our first full surrogacy grant last spring.
Congratulations.
Thank
How did
you.
that feel?
Oh my God. And like, just to give that gift to like a couple in Brooklyn, local couple, Rusty and Christina.
Really?
Yeah, they're in their matching process.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, let's pray for Sticky Baby.
please. Yes.
Everyone, the more prayers, the better, right?
I know, so many. So yeah, it's called A Damn Good Life right now because my company was called Damn Good Yoga, and now Damn Good & Co. I've evolved as life evolves, we do. And so we rebranded it this week.
What is it going to be called? I'm anxious.
Baby Chance Foundation.
Aww.
So like Baby Chance, like you have a chance
like
at
it's a
baby
chance
and
at
chance,
baby.
and he was my only chance, and so the Baby Chance Foundation.
Absolutely perfect.
Yeah. So because he's sort of become this like beacon of hope.
He is.
Just for possibility that miracles happen. So yeah, that's our nonprofit, and
I love it.
it's
I have to meet these other amazing
they're amazing.
survivors.
They're amazing. They were just in these chairs 2 days ago.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
So I think we've covered everything, but we always end our podcast interviews.
Well, first of all, tell people how they can find you.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Please tell us.
And
how
then
to
I do want to add.
Yes.
One other thing. So you guys, you can find me. I'm Sarrah Strimel-Bentley, SarrahStrimel-Bentley, on Instagram and TikTok. Mm-hmm. My website is damngoodandco.com. And then our nonprofit for now is adamngoodlife.org. So those are the websites and the socials you can find me on. And I just want to take a minute before we close just to just say congratulations to both of you on starting this.
Thank you.
Amazing podcast, because I truly feel like an extra lucky mom, even because of everything I've gone through to be here now. And I know that you guys both, I work with kids who are neurodivergent and have Down syndrome. I do surf therapy with them. And I will say that like the most incredible experience is it's so freaking hard. And I can't even imagine, but like they are the most magical beings in so many different ways. And I think that like was one of the most fulfilling things I've ever done is work with a Walk on Water and be with these families and these children. So I just think that you guys are superheroes and your kids are probably going to change the world.
Changed ours.
Yes. No. And it's just, and I think we never know what's coming in our life. Mm-hmm. And we never know like when it changes in a split second, whether it's with a diagnosis of Down syndrome for your child or cancer for yourself or any number of things that can happen. And I think what we've all done is we've seen the forest through the trees, and we've seen there's magic in everything. Yeah. And I always say like there's beauty in the teardown, and I think I want to commend you both on being like incredible advocates for that magic and for the like just the beauty of all of it. So
we always say like it's not what happens to you, but what you do with it. You know, like what you and like you're leaving a trail. You know, we're hoping to leave a trail. Like Chance is going to leave a trail. Yeah, like all of this all has like such a ripple effect. And I feel like you might have already answered it, but the question we want to leave in all of our episodes is what makes you extra lucky. So you might have already sort of said that, but
are you going to keep this in your mouth?
It's this little boy.
I've never done this, but I feel like I must. Ready? Are you ready?
That is the best one.
If you drop it, will it mess up the sound?
Yeah. I'm extra lucky that this miracle, who I was told was fair quality, is
way more than fair quality.
He is quality.
That he decided underneath the sunset, this is where I used to pray for him, this very sunset, a photo of where I prayed for him. Yeah. That's the beach I used to sit there. Oop, Your head is
He
very
is
big.
so tired. I love it.
Um,
Love a chunky baby.
I know, he's a chunk. I used to pray for him underneath, looking at the sunset every night when we were bringing him here and then calling his soul in. So this is what makes me extra lucky, is that he decided to be my guardian angel on earth and not in the sky. And I'm extra lucky that I'm able to take the message and the lessons I've learned, and I'm able to have platforms like this to tell my story and to hopefully touch one other woman, one other family, and let them know that they're not alone and that miracles are possible. So,
Thank you, Sarah.
Well, thank you so
appreciate
much.
you.
What an amazing time we've had with you today.
guys, let's hang out.
Extra lucky for you.
Thank you.
Too, Chase.
Thank you
Chase,
all.
Chase, mom
calls
language.
Chase.
No, it's just me.
Also,
Thank you all for listening. If this show resonated with you, please share it with a friend. It lets us continue to spread this message of the extra lucky life. So thank you.
Bye.